Welcome back to another episode of Baking with Dan. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make this classic yet still really impressive buttercream birthday cake. So I'm making this cake today for my little friend Claire. Hi Claire. For her birthday. How old's Claire turning?
4.
Claire's turning 4.
Can't believe that.
Alright, so I'll put one down, center it on the board, give it a nice pat so it's not going to go anywhere. Alright, and then this is what I really like to use the pastry bag for. So I can just pipe on circles of icing, and I'm going to have a nice even layer of icing. Really simple. Grab my second layer, center that right on top, give it a pat down, make sure there's no air bubbles in there. Alright, so pastry bag again. This chocolate buttercream is so good, so chocolatey. It's one of my favorite things. Claire has good taste, I have to say. Alright, so final cake layer here. Put that on. And you guys will notice I decided to use 3 layers of cake here and not have to cut them or tort them, as opposed to just using 2 layers of cake and then slicing each one in half. I prefer to work that way. I think it's a little bit easier. Now, to avoid having to use a crumb coat, I'm just going to use my pastry bag to place the buttercream on the cake as I turn the wheel, all right? So my pastry bag stays still. My hand turns my turning table. It's a table that turns. All right. So I'm going to just pipe this icing all the way up to the top. Now I like to start at the top. All right, so I start spreading the top. My hand stays mostly still except for this rocking motion, just like this. And then my other hand turns the turntable. So I'm doing this pretty fast because I do this all the time, but if you guys aren't used to working with buttercream cakes on a turntable, take your time. There's no need to rush through it. Good things take time. And then before I start smoothing the sides here, I'll put a little bit of buttercream on my palette knife. So if I see any little spots that weren't covered, I can just add some buttercream to them. I'm going to take my bowl scraper, okay? And this bowl scraper here has a perfect 90-degree angle. All right, and this is a new one as well, so I know that it's not going to have any edges in it. They're going to scrape in my frosting. So I'm going to place the flat end of my scraper on the turntable, up against my cake, and just turn the cake, keeping the scraper still. And what this is going to do is just make sure that the sides of my cake are straight up and down. Just like this. And I'll just keep dragging it along until I don't see any air bubbles left. And periodically you just want to scrape the buttercream off the scraper. Alright. So I could just stop there and just leave the cake smooth, just like this. And that's cool, but I think it's a little boring. So what I like to do is switch back to my palette knife here. I keep calling it a spatula or palette knife. I don't know which one it is. All right. And so what I'm going to do, there's actually 2 ways to do this. I'm going to make a swirl up the side. So I could hold the spatula like this to the side and slowly drag it up. Or I could hold the spatula to the side like this, turn the turntable, and slowly drag it up. And if I go back and say, you know what, I don't really like how that one turned out, no big deal. I'll just smooth it back out with my bowl scraper. And I'll go back and I'll do it again. I'll show you guys the other way. I could just take the rounded edge of my spatula here and put it in the side of the cake and move it up the side of the cake while I turn my turntable. And maybe I'll like how this one looks a little better. Cool, so that looks fun. So this is a really popular rustic way to finish buttercream cakes. So now you'll see this dragging up motion has caused this ring of buttercream to form at the top of the cake here. So I'll show you guys how we're going to get rid of that and make the top of the cake nice and smooth. So I'm going to take my bowl scraper, and I'm going to take the sharp end of it, okay? And just at the height of the cake, over the edge of the frosting, I'm going to pull the buttercream in and stop before I get to the other side. And I'm just going to do that all the way around, cleaning the bowl scraper after every pull. So I'm going to finish this cake with some sprinkles that I just have in a bowl right here, just so the excess gets caught, all right? And I'll just put some in my palm, and then bring my palm up to the side of the cake and give them a little push so they stick to the cake, and then I'll let the extras fall right back into the bowl. So same thing, they're in my palm, pull them up the side of the cake, give them a push so they stick, and let the extras fall back into the bowl. And some of the extras just fall all over my table. That's okay, I'll clean those up later. So to finish this cake up, I'm just going to pipe a border just along the top. And this is a 6-inch cake, it's already pretty small. If I wanted room to write a message, I wanted to make sure when I'm piping this border that I pipe all the way to the edge. I don't want to pipe in because I'll be making my surface area smaller. I'll start right at the edge. I'm going to pipe a star and drag it back. And if you're just beginning, you can use both hands like I just did, but if you're an old pro, you can have the bag in one hand and the turntable in the other, and as you pipe, just turn the turntable. Nice and slow. And you always want your next star or your next shell border or bead border, whatever it is, you always want it to start right where your last one left off. You want to cover up that little tail that hangs off. So that way it'll look nice and finished once you get back to where you started. And then once you get back to where you started, just let the pressure go, 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 connect it, and drag it away. That's how I make a buttercream birthday cake. So I hope Claire enjoys it. Thanks for watching, guys.